Hi guys, welcome to the channel. This video is going to be about arrangement, and I wanted to make this video because arrangement is strongly connected with mixing, and as soon as you master the arrangement and understand how to arrange your tracks properly, your mixing and music production in general will improve a lot. Believe me guys, I know what I'm talking about. I had the same problem. I even have the same problem now sometimes with the mixing, with the arrangement. So I want to help those of you who are a beginner, maybe an intermediate, maybe you have some releases, but you still need some knowledge which will answer some of your questions about the arrangement, about the mixing. And yeah, in this tutorial, we are going to break down my last track, which I've made. So we are going to have a look at the beginning, at the drop, at the breakdown, and things like that. So no more talking, let's go straight to the track. And I'm going to start from the beginning. And I like to make my intros very simple. You can make your intros basically how you want. But the number one advice I want to give you guys is try to start with some rhythm. So for example, in here, I have a kick, a drum loop, and an atmosphere with a filter. So let's have a listen to those. The intro is very simple. One interesting thing I'm doing is I'm using filters. So on the texture / atmosphere, I'm slowly introducing, and after that, I'm closing the filter again. Since we have a transition, here I have a sweep from Kashmir's sample pack. Here is that nice little. Yeah, I thought it sounded very nice. And yeah, the second part, which is pre-drop, is very simple as well. But the interesting thing, I'm starting to introduce the main ARP / lead. And that's what I usually do. And that's what you could do with your tracks, guys. So you can even try to have your main lead ARP, whatever important element you have, in the intro, but be careful so it doesn't get too boring. That's the most important thing, I guess. And in the pre-drop, I also have a build-up snare, which sounds like that. Yeah, before we go to the drop, I want you to pay attention to the drum fills, because drum fills is what can make your tracks to sound unique and stand out from the crowd. And in my case, the drum fill sounds like that. I've made a tutorial about drum fills, so if you want to know how to make your own drum fills, go and watch that. I'll put the link in the suggestion so you guys could go and do that. And let's move to the drop. And the drop in my case is very simple. And here comes one more advice for you guys. Try to make your tracks, so not only the drops, but the tracks in general, as simple as possible. That is actually the reason why, for example, a drop in a track with one synth, drums, kick and bass sounds so amazing and clean. And the reason for that is it's just simple. And the synthesizer and the bass, they don't take a lot of space and frequencies, and you can actually use, for example, more reverb, more delay, and effects like that. And that's what I've started to understand with my last tracks, because two of my last tracks, which I've made, they have only, in this case, 34 tracks, and my previous one, I think, has the same amount of the tracks. So yeah, I'm basically just using an impact when my drop starts. You can also try and use impact like here, and yeah, this is basically the same thing. I'm just using similar effects on the same track because it's easier to EQ and process those. Yeah, just my general advice. Try to not only group similar tracks, but also try to use similar effects on the same, like the individual track, like I'm using here. Yeah, I have an effect here, which I've made from scratch. Yeah, so it's basically all about transitions, and I'm just using a formula. You should introduce something new, like some changes to your arrangement every 8 bars. Yeah, 8 bars. So as you can see, I have an impact here, one more impact here, and at the end of the of my square, which is 16 bars long, I have a transition effects. It just makes your track sound a little bit more interesting, which is nice. At the end of the day, we want to achieve that. Okay guys, let's listen to the second part of the track. I think you guys can hear the stereo image is very wide, and the reason for that is that I'm basically using only one instrument with a lot of delay. So try using as less instruments as possible. Try to let them play as long as possible. So for example, on this instrument, I have a lot of delay, and I don't really have any other instruments, so basically just a short like effect. That one, which doesn't take a lot of space, it's very short and it just sounds nice. So the next part is that nice it just helps the transition to sound more interesting, and I also have some more effects. As you can see, they are very simple and they sound nice. In the beginning, I actually wanted to make the brass pattern like that, so every 4 bars, but what I've understood is that it doesn't really sound too nice, rather it sounds more repetitive, and we don't want that. I would say EDM is repetitive, but it also needs to be interesting for the listener, and that's why we need to make interesting transitions, stuff like that, to really work on the arrangement. Okay, at the end of the second square, I'm using a filter on the master channel. Yep. And one more thing, guys. Here I've introduced the brides, as you can hear. And here, yeah, I've added bride, which adds more groove. And one more interesting thing I've started using are the reverse claps, so pay attention when this thing comes in. Yeah, it's very simple, but at the same time, I just like it. It sounds so nice. And yeah, let's move to the next part. And that is actually my favorite part of the track. So I'm starting with a flute. I'm actually using a reverb and the delay on the individual channels. I usually do this on the return channels, but in some cases you really want to use those kind of stereo effects on the like individual track. You guys can see I don't have any effects in the beginning, so I've added this noise as a transition, and yeah, basically it's just empty. So instead of that, I'm using a texture, so it's a vocal pad. It's very quiet, but at the same time it creates that nice atmosphere and helps the drum, so this instrument, which you can hear. Yeah, it just sounds nicer with some textures, with some pads. So guys, try to use maybe some field recordings like waves, like it can basically be any kind of sound you want, but it should sound nice in the context of the mix. So what I usually do, I use those sounds in the background, so they are very quiet, but at the same time they fill that space and the track doesn't sound that empty. So yeah, here I have a filter on the master channel. So I'm basically cutting the low end and making the transition more interesting. So we need to work with the energy. So here we add a lot of bass, and we basically need to do like a wave. So you do a transition which helps the next part of the track it harder. I have one more effect, so it's like a sweep, some kind of sweep. That's basically the track. Very simple, but at the same time, very interesting and very powerful. I really like this track. And after that, I've just copied the O arrangement. The track is basically only 3 minutes long, but if you copy the O arrangement, it's going to be like, in this case, 7+ minutes. We have an intro, an outro with a simple beat, but I think nobody's going to play the O track, so that's why I made a transition like that. You could start mixing and introducing the new track, and that is basically the concept of my arrangement. So I make my track like 3 minutes long, I copy the arrangement, I make an intro, an outro. If you have some ideas about arrangement, you can do the way you like it to do, but that's just a suggestion from me. You can use that as a guideline. I'm just here to show my process, to share my knowledge, guys. Maybe I will inspire you and you'll find something which works best for you. Yeah, I think that was all I wanted to talk about, or I wanted to share with you guys. I really hope I could make this video interesting. I really hope that you've learned something, because it's a very important topic. If you want me to make more videos, tutorials about arrangement, let me know in the comments below. Shoot me a DM on Instagram so I know that you guys are interested. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. See you guys in the next one.